I wanted to say a big thank you to our sponsor, Talent Insights. Talent Insights are Australia's leading data specialist recruitment business. They are experts in recruitment strategy and delivery for analytics and data teams. They are the go-to recruitment business for all your data roles in Australia, and they can help both with permanent hires and short-term project-focused data resources. I've used Talent Insights in the past, and I've always found them fantastic to work with. Visit them at talentinsights.com.au.
Everyone should be able to see the whole results now. We can go through those. So first question was, how confident do you feel in your ability to lead profit-forming data science projects? Great question. 43% of people said not very confident. And then the next most popular answer was somewhat confident with 36% of people. And then we had 21% say that they feel confident, and no one said that they feel extremely confident. Very interesting answers there. What are your thoughts, Lillian?
If you answered not very confident, you don't worry. If you're working in a day job for a company, then for them, a lot of times, especially if they have you actually doing implementation work, they don't like so much discussing money. And so I didn't learn about, generating profits with data until I started working with these big companies as an independent consultant. And then now learning as a business, don't worry so much about not feeling confident, because you can develop a process that basically protects the return on investment in your data, the work you do in your data project. And basically it's not your fault, because in the employment environment, they discourage the talk about how much money you can get fired in some places for saying how much money you're making. And then they also probably don't want most implementation people realizing how much, if it is generating revenue, how much revenue it is generating, because then they would maybe get unhappy with the salary, right? Any idea? Okay, yeah. So if you don't have an idea for a company, also.
Oh, sorry, hang on. Before we go into the next one, I was going to ask you about what about for people that do want to improve their ability to lead profit-forming data science projects, and my assumption there, I think, is that people would feel most pressure from the profit-forming part. That I think that people would feel like they can, they can definitely be part of a data science project and perform well.
Yeah.
People might feel okay in leading a data science project, or some people might feel okay, but then making sure that it's a profitable project or initiative, I think that might be the where people need the bigger lift, or where the bigger gap might be. Would you have any tips for people to start making that transition, or thinking about the profit that the work can bring?
Yeah, I can share with you my framework, and I will.
Mm-hmm.
But also, your ability to lead profit-forming data projects is going to also depend on the company, like your company, if they're actually giving you access to the information and level of responsibility you need to make the decisions to make that happen, right? So, in its most basic form, for a project to be profit forming, it needs to be well managed. So you don't necessarily need to go get a project management certificate, although that's not a terrible idea. Just technical project management in general. I'm looking at resource allocation, milestones, KPIs, setting up a framework to evaluate, okay, how much resources have gone in, and what is our delivery status, and not waiting too long to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Not waiting too long before you figure out there's a problem. I'm sorry. But what I teach in my little mini product, I have this thing called Data Strategy Action Plan, which leads people through the process, right? And so within that, there's I follow the STAR framework for everything strategic. So the STAR framework is this: you start off and you survey the industry, and you look at all the use cases and the case studies that are out there, and get an idea of, okay, what's possible, and look also into the technology specifications in the different industries to say, okay, getting an idea of what's possible, and then what's possible for us given our current setup, given what we have at our disposal. And then you go into, after you've spent time surveying the industry, then you would go into taking stock of your company. So with as much access as they will give you, if you could do, the whole company wide, looking at like, what are the, you could do a SWOT analysis, but we go in a lot deeper into, just evaluating trying to kind of troubleshoot the business end to end to figure out, okay, where is the biggest gap? What is the biggest thing that could be easily fixed with a data solution that is leaking money?
Great.
And then put together a few ideas after gathering all the information about the company. You assess, they go in an assess phase. You assess that information, you assess the company, then you take your use case research, your case studies, and you try and find, if this is your first project, you try and find the lowest hanging fruit, as data strategy people say, something that's going to get you quick success, 3 months. And you turn around and it's like, woo, this is going to save time. This is going to save cost spending. This is going to save money, or this is going to generate new revenues, something like that. And you evaluate your different, after you've narrowed down the use cases to because you also, when you did your assessment, you collected information about your technology, and the data resources you have, the data technologies you have at your disposal. So you got to match it up and say, okay, which of these use cases is going to give us the best bang for our buck, given, what we have on hand? Because, let's just not try and buy something else. Let's try to use what we have. So that would be how you pick the best next project, if you get the option to actually do that, which is the big sticking point. Is a lot of people want to say, you do this, tell other people what to do instead of giving them the option to brainstorm and work it out as a team. And then lastly, make a plan. And that's going back to the first thing, which was, project management and building your data strategy plan and putting in, okay, what are our milestone goals? What are the resources required, so that, okay, this is what we should expect. And then if you don't get results that are up to that level, then very quickly you can go and troubleshoot and figure out, is there a problem, instead of waiting 3 years and investing God knows millions of dollars into a technology based on a hype purchase. And then years later, finding out oh, shoot, that wasn't the right technology or use case or anything.
Yeah. And I've definitely seen large companies make that mistake where sometimes they evaluate their technology choices in ways that are a bit short-sighted and then get caught up down the road. So this is a really excellent framework.
Thank you.
Yeah, really, really good.
The whole big, you remember big data? You can't even say big data anymore. It's that's synonymous with Hadoop, and Hadoop basically busted out. I started my book with that whole thing, and it's that expresses the need. And it's not data professionals' fault, although we're the best primed to be able to help companies avoid that because we have the data expertise. But it's also hype-based investments, and also vendors who sell the wrong, if you see someone needs something, just selling it to them because they say they want it based on hype is not a good idea.
So true.
and not an ethical thing to do either, but definitely not a way to keep a business, your your customers happy.
Right? Yeah. So true. So true. The other advice that I would give people is to close the loop early. When it comes to, if you're thinking about profit, if you're thinking about revenue, then track that early, measure that early, and find ways to get there as soon as possible. And to get there sooner, simplify your approaches. So sometimes instead of building, I don't know, an app or a dashboarding solution, sometimes like a PowerPoint analysis is enough to start getting some traction and starting to get an understanding whether you are heading the right way and hitting the mark on a need that people have, and you get you can start getting a sense whether it's gonna
for minimum viable, like just spend the minimum, get it done, and then get the results, because people will invest. I like that. Your leaders, like the business leaders, they'll spend money and they'll promote you if your project is like showing returns. That's why, I like your advice.
No, that is great. I love your framework. Yeah, I
thank you.
Yeah, like across the board, like I love the clarity of thinking that you bring and how you are distilling such ambiguity and complexity to really actionable steps. So, awesome. So going back to the poll, question 2 was, do you have an idea that could be a data-driven venture or company? And with that, part of the and I should have worded it better, because part of what I was thinking is it could be a data-driven product for within your company, or where you're working, as in like, do you see an opportunity where you could build a data-driven product where you are, or that could, or have a separate idea to do kind of like your own business. So we had 64% of people said no, and 36% of people said yes, that they do have an idea that could be a data-driven product or company. Really interesting. Any thoughts on that from your side, Lillian?
Yeah, well, that is exciting. Thank you for clarifying, actually, or helping me think in terms of data product management instead of as an entrepreneur. Okay, so if you do not have ideas, I think the ideas part is fun, even for implementation people. It keeps you in vision mode and excited about creating, and it gets that serotonin thing. So I think that's, but okay. So the ideas, you get the ideas bug. Once it gets turned on, then you get too many ideas, and it's really hard to stay committed.
So true.
So
like you can't turn it off. Like it just keeps flooding in.
Oh, yeah. And then if you go as an entrepreneur, if you're an entrepreneur, you go into businesses do this too. Oh, let's just do the next thing. Let's just do 3 things at a time. And you never make progress on one. It's like, no, you have to stay committed and get this one going. And it's like, once you get the ideas bug, hold on, make a list. Yes. But how do you get the ideas bug going? And how do you, if you have ideas already, I think the answer to these 2 things is both the same answer, and it's the same answer whether you're working as a data product manager in a company or in your own business, which is why I love the data product manager role, is because I finally found a place very similar to owning a data business. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I'm like, wow, something that I actually fit in the professional landscape. So the answer to this is market research. It's just market research. If you want more ideas, just spend time really, really analyzing what other people are doing, what questions people are asking, how urgent their needs are, how many other experts are over there to actually help them, how many are available, because then you're going to start getting ideas of like, wow, I could actually solve this problem for them. And there's no one that's doing this, So that is where you're going to find ideas. And then in terms of, if you have those ideas, that's awesome and fun. But then just because you have an idea, I would probably take 20 ideas. What we do I have a course, Data Creatives & Co. for data entrepreneurs. And the first step is market research.
Yes.
And they get 20 ideas. And then we have an 11 column matrix where they have to evaluate the ideas and figure out which of these ideas against market conditions and, time to market and how much cost is it going to take. And like, there's so many different criteria you have to consider before saying, okay, this is actually might be a good idea to actually implement. So you have to evaluate your ideas against the market and against your potential customer base. And then once you've narrowed them down, really, it's a good idea to do some interviews. If you already have customers, that's great because they're going to be your first, that's who you want to be building this for anyway. So, do some interviews and be like, how, because just because you have an idea for something and it's proven that there's a market for it, then you have to make sure that you deliver in the format that is easy to be, the person gets the result really easily. And also, you need to make sure that I just did an example of this in a YouTube video. If you're selling data storytelling, that's your expertise. You want to sell it to marketing managers, like, don't make a course probably or a book because they don't want. A marketing manager doesn't want to sit around and learn how to do this stuff. They really want the results. They want to pay good money and just serve it up to them. So you have to look at, okay, what's the vehicle by which I deliver this expertise? And that's very, very important. Interviews will help you with that, especially when you're newer and you're not sure.
I love this approach. I love it. Because so in my career, I worked in some really old school companies, and I've had my own businesses, and I've worked in startups, and it's across the board. But what I've noticed in old school companies, one of the things that really irritated me was that they had this great man theory in the way, which was implicit in the way that the company worked. And what I mean by that is that if somebody was doing really well in their job, they're like, oh, they're just good, they're killing it, let's leave them alone. And then if somebody wasn't doing as well as the company wanted, they're like, oh, they're just shit. Like they're never gonna kill it. And that's such a closed-minded approach. And what I really like about your approach, Lillian, is that you find the processes that make people successful and you open those up. And essentially what you're saying is like, people can learn how to be successful. They can learn how to create a successful product, how to run a successful business, how to make a difference in their career. And here are the processes, like here's the steps that you need to take in order to do that. And it's a really open-minded way of approaching it. To say, how about we, open up the black box, see what's there, get it out, share it with people, and then help people on their journey. So I love that.
Thank you. It's fun. I mean, this is my passion. This is my passion. And it's interesting. I'm sort of. I like to think. I went to law school and I had my contracts teacher. He was amazing, JAG attorney. And he would always say, like, it's not the how, it's the why. If you can find, you can find a million people to do the how part for you, but the why part is what you really need to understand, because that's how you can really make things happen. And I like the why. I just like to think about why things work the way they do. So that's why this is happening.
Exactly. No, it shows. That's really great. No, and so I love the processes. And doing the market research and finding use cases. I think it's an awesome approach, and Yeah, and it's another area where you and I are definitely think alike and are passionate about the same. One of the reasons in data, or one of the things that we do in data futurology, is focus on the use cases, and ask people to share their use cases from their industries, from their companies, and it's surprising how easy they can be applied to other areas. And we had somebody from the largest bank in Mexico saying how they did cross-selling and killed it, and they were moving people from having accounts to having credit cards to having loans to insurance, etc. And that the cross-selling made a huge difference for them as a large organization. And I've got so many messages from people applying that to their industries, whether like it's manufacturing or healthcare or
after hearing about it through your community.
Yeah, the way that this guy described it, they were like,
I love that.
Yeah, it is awesome. So I love that you have that as a cool part of this process. Yeah,
Can I share with you something?
Of course.
So my data strategy action plan is the planning part, but then you need to review the use cases, right? So what I did was I made a product called Data Evaluation Use Case Workbox, which comes with 31. Each set is a use case, a case study, and the technology specifications.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's broken down by industry and then by function as well. So I have it in a Trello board so you can kind of mix and match. But I think that way. So, I think that way, like you're saying, like, oh, you could actually take this and apply it to a different industry and like, look, trying to, but if I haven't like created the course to go with this. So like getting people to realize, that this use case would work in a completely different capacity in a completely different industry and get completely different results. It's really cool that you're able to like help people.
Yeah, but it's
really cool.
No, and it's I like the way you're doing it, because it's you are doing the distillation ahead of time. So you do the work, you take on the work yourself to say, how do I compress all this knowledge and certainty and provide the processes and specific use cases and the structures for people to be able to action it. That's really nice.
Because it's only 31. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot of material once you dig into all of it, but it's only 31. But then if you think about that, they're all different and that they mix and match. If you are innovative, then it's actually everything you could possibly need.
Exactly.
You don't need to read 100 use cases. Not that that's a bad idea, but
you've pulled out the patterns and the key components, and then they can be used as modules to combine to creatively. And definitely we got a comment from Conrad along that line that said use cases by industry and function, including the tech stack, sounds like an incredible asset.
Yeah, I'm going to see it. Like, I'll talk to you about that after, because it's sitting on my website. I don't do much with it. It's a very low end offer in terms of price.
Yeah.
It was meant to be like part of a slow funnel. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yeah.
So, but then Facebook ads just took a deep, so it's just like, it's sitting on my website, it sells, but I'll see if you want to partner on it after, because
that sounds,
I'm not doing that much with it. So, and it's actually, I think you'd like it.
Yeah, no, it really sounds really exciting and super valuable.
It is actually very valuable. I spent like 9 months building this thing, and it's like so affordable. And it's got all the tools in there too, built in Google Docs. You just plug and play and get the numbers out. I was like, this is so fun, but you have to market your product.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. But no, I love the way you think. And it's interesting, the different approach, because in my case, like I've been creating the long form content through conversations like this, and kind of like hoping that people would be able to pick out what's most relevant for them, whether it's like say use cases or leadership approaches or creating a vision or a data strategy and kind of like giving them a buffet in the sense of this long form content, giving buffets. But I really like your approach where you're taking on that work to synthesize, summarize, compile, and provide it in a structured, nice little with a bow around it, ready to.
That's a data entrepreneur in me. It's like, we have to, because if you want people to get results, like even if you do everything, like my data creatives and co, I actually had a designer build a website that you just need to install it. Even if you do everything and make it as simple as possible, still only a small portion of people that purchase are going to take the action required to get the value. But if they can't, in terms of like, if it's hard for them to do that, then it's, not that helpful for them and they'll give up. They won't get the result. And I wasted my time. So, so I just try.
I love it. It's great. Really, really good. So that's actually a good lead into the last question on the poll that we had, which was, have you had to set or create a data strategy? And 36% of people said yes, and 64% of people said no, they haven't had to create a data strategy yet. What are your thoughts or tips on the data strategy side?
What I would do if you're interested in getting into data strategy and being a data leader, what I have recommended people do, particularly like maybe if you're working remotely, have this on a wall. Or if you're working in an office, you can set up a project management board. But if you don't have a data project to like that you're in charge of the strategy, you can at least start taking your daily work and the projects you're working on and mapping them out into, what is the milestone? What is my milestone goal? Who am I answering to here? And building a project management board in a visual way. So I use, honestly, just for my own peace of mind, I've got this whiteboard with sticky, Post-it notes. Yeah. And I just, because I don't want to overwhelm myself. So I just put a few per week. And you can plot out a few months worth of, okay, this is the goal. This is the main focus, and then this is what it's leading to. And then this is the milestone goal for this. Here are the stakeholders, and start plotting that out in a visual way. Because if and when leadership type personnel in your company see that, they will probably start asking questions. And when you start saying like, this is my thoughts about time and money spent on this project and how well it's going. Of course, you never want to throw anyone under the bus, but when you start saying like, I'm trying to manage that, I'm trying to make this as efficient as possible so that I can do more for the business, they're naturally going to start thinking of you in terms of like, maybe this person. So you just start where you're at. Yeah. And maybe get a project management certificate and start implementing that in your daily role, and things will start happening.
Yeah, because then you'd be showing by doing that, you're showing initiative to say that this is something that you value, that you care about, that you're willing to invest your time to put together a plan, to measure the performance against it. And people really value that. And
you think that way, even.
Exactly right. Yeah. And it's a really great opportunity to do that within the work that you're doing. And, it helps you exercise these new muscles. And then you can even have a shot at doing it for your team or for your area once you've done it for your own projects. It's a really great way to do it. And sometimes, like, I gotta say, like, sometimes even if you're a consultant at another company and you're working on one very specific project, but you see that there's either no data strategy or that like you feel like you could put something together, I encourage you to do that and try to socialize it, obviously in a way that's not getting people offside, that is not throwing people under the bus. But if you can get the support for that. Yeah, definitely a great idea.
Yeah, there's so many options. Well, you're an ideas person. So like, I'm just going down that with you, but I'm thinking, okay, that's a cool line of, it would be a whole nother concept of what that looks like. So I'm going to.
Yeah. So for example, when I had my consulting company, that's how we grew the business. So we literally had two things that really helped us gain traction. One was subcontracting, which is crazy to me. So literally, like, a large business would win a really large piece of work.
Oh.
And often they didn't have all the people that they needed, or they didn't have all the skills that they needed. And they would seek out other consulting companies to help them fill out those skill sets and those people. And we would get into these large companies that way, literally by, like, under the umbrella of another consulting company, and start doing the work. Obviously trying to do our best, trying to prove ourselves. And then through that, we would start to either stand out or be seen to go above and beyond, and start to get the confidence of those customers, of those clients. Right. Then they would want us to do subsequent projects. As we were doing those projects, we would look out to see what are the gaps in their strategy. What is the company strategy and the company vision, and then how the data analytics can support that. And wherever there was gaps, we would literally, like, structure that into a strategy, a plan, and socialize that. And obviously trying to do that in a nice and kind way. And then that would get us supporters, and people would get excited to say, hey, that's a problem that we have, or that's a problem that's coming up. It's important for us. Let's kick off some projects to address that. And that's how we were kind of like growing our footprint in our client sites. And I'm not going to say that it worked every time. And like, we had I had ideas where I was like literally like laughed out of boardrooms sometimes. And I had one, like, I had to tell you this, where we've been working with a cable company. So they provided a media company that they mostly brought content from overseas, and they sold it here in Australia, and they had the cables. And this was, I want to say, 2009 or something. And we presented our strategy. We were at that stage with that company. We had good support at the executive level. I was leading that piece of work, and I presented the strategy, and we're having a really good discussion about the next few projects, etc. And in the final kind of like chat, I sort of said to them, and I was like, hey, you guys should really think about what you would do as an organization when Netflix comes to Australia. And they laughed in my face. They laughed their asses off, like literally, like belly laugh, like ha ha ha, as if Netflix is gonna come to Australia.
Yeah, but that was groupthink. That was denial. We're all gonna just be in denial, and so it's not gonna happen.
Insane. And at that point, this company, all the content distribution that they had was done through broadcast. So essentially their cables could send the information, but it couldn't tell you back how many people were watching anything, how many people were watching the ads, what programs were the most popular. So they had like no analytics, and we were building it for them. And I was like, once you have this, we had other crazy ideas. I was like, we could mine the illegal download sites, and we could see what's being most downloaded from illegal download sites. And I was like, that has a demand. You could go overseas and get that content, and then you could sell it, and people would buy it because they're trying to get it for free because they can't get it any other way.
That's exactly what happens.
And they were like, nah, we're not doing that. So anyway, all of a sudden.
Are they still in business?
They are very much declining. Because in a lot of trouble. And but all I'm saying is that like you can take the right approach, and you will win some and you'll lose some. And the idea is to like keep with the approach.
Yeah, the thing, reminds me, your stories reminds me so much. I'm reading this product management book, a very good one, seven somethings of product management,
nice.
Sacred Seven. And they were talking about Kodak. Kodak actually invented a digital camera, the first digital camera, 1975.
And they laughed the guy out of the boardroom. They're like,
"Don't
look, this is
eat your babies." Yeah, and then they lost their whole business to the digital industry, but they milked it. They milked it for a really long time because they were selling all the accessories, I guess. So
exactly. Yeah.
So they should have thought about, they needed someone like you.
Well, the thing is that they had the person who built the first digital camera, and then they dismissed him. They're like, nah, you're crazy. The first digital camera had like really terrible quality. The pictures were terrible, really terrible quality. And they're like, look at the quality in film. This is so much better. But
it took.
They didn't expect that digital was going to improve so quickly and then take over the world and get them out of business. Insane. Yeah. We had a few comments.
I know. Thank you guys so much for your kind comments. Really, I've been seeing some of these, and I'm like, hey, thank you. So it's rewarding to get positive feedback.
So Fiona said,
especially when you're writing a book and it's.
Oh, I am so impressed with like.
I love hearing good things because I'm like, please pick me up.
Are you kidding me? Between like the courses that you've put together, the books that you've written, the business, and being able to create all these frameworks and processes for people, like that's what I was saying in the beginning. It is literally a lifetime's worth of work that you've done in less than a decade. It is crazy. We had some just before. Sorry, I know we're over time. All right, just before we wrap up, a few comments from people. Fiona said, really helpful. Have been checking out the Data Mania website, which is already helping me think about different career options. Great. Conrad says there is a lot of consulting, maybe lots of consulting, to make data implementers become successful. And Lillian seems to have done all the hard thinking. I agree. Not everyone has the skill set. I agree with that too. Very happy you share your story, frameworks, and approach. Thank you. And Fiona says, thanks to Filippo for sharing these stories, insightful, and teaches you to persist in the face of these sorts of views. Great.
It's true. It's true, Filippo, because it's scary. I working in, that's one of the things that's nice about working in your own business is there's not someone here to laugh at you because you're the boss.
Yeah.
And like being in a place where people get in a group and do something like that, it's like, it doesn't feel good. So it's nice that you can share stories that help other people, basically overcome that fear and not let that paralyze them and stuff like that. That's some area I have very little experience with because I just am very sensitive. So I just bailed before anyone could start laughing.
Oh, I have like too many of those, like a lot of scars from those war stories. All right, we are definitely over time. Lillian, thank you so much for coming to the show, for sharing your thoughts, your perspectives, your insights.
It was fun. I enjoyed it.
I love the way you think and the pace at what you work and the pace at what you deliver. It is
tell amazing. That to my editor.
Yeah, done. Send them my email. I'll tell them that. Oh my God. Looking forward to another conversation. So this has been great. And for everyone that joined today live, thank you so much. Come back next Friday. So we're speaking with Abby Seth, who is the Vice President for Analytics at TE Connectivity, which is a very, very, very large electronic and manufacturing company based in the US. And yeah, they have hundreds of thousands of employees, and he's doing enterprise analytics for the whole organization. And it's been an amazing journey. To come back for that next Friday morning. Thanks everyone who joined live. And Lillian, thank you so much again. That was wonderful. Have a great day, everyone. See you next time.
Thanks for watching this video all the way to the end. I hope that you got a lot out of this discussion. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe to the channel so more people can find out about the challenges that leaders have in the analytics and AI space. And that's what we're trying to share in Data Futurology. So please like and subscribe. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please tell your friends. Thank you so much.